For years, many of us have been told to chase that one perfect business idea. But let me share something that might surprise you. There's someone out there earning $8,000 a day by doing the exact opposite. Chris, a creator I deeply respect, has built 6 to 7 small, steady income streams that quietly add up to nearly $3 million a year. None of them are flashy. None of them require a massive following. They're simply well-structured, well-tested, and built with patience. And here's the real lesson, one that becomes even clearer as we get older. You don't need perfection. You need momentum. Chris succeeds because he stays curious, tries ideas on a small scale, and lets real results tell him which direction to go next. Compounding doesn't reward the person who waits for the ideal plan. It rewards the person who keeps moving, learning, and staying in the game. One step, one decision at a time. You know, I recently came across a side hustle that sounds almost unbelievable at first. But stay with me, because the lesson behind it is what truly matters. There's a floating golf green in New Zealand. Nothing fancy, just a small platform out on the water. And they offer a simple challenge. Hit a hole-in-one and you win $10,000. Now, here's where it gets interesting. The average amateur golfer has about a 1 in 25,000 chance of making that shot. In other words, the math doesn't just favor the house, it protects the house. And because of that, this little operation quietly brings in somewhere between $300,000 to $500,000 a year. One green, one dock, a staff member with an iPad, and a whole lot of people wanting to take just one shot. I want you to imagine this for a moment. What if something this simple could work near a golf course in your town? Or by a lake people walk past every weekend? I'm not saying everyone should run out and start one, but I want you to see the bigger picture. Sometimes the most profitable ideas aren't high-tech, complicated, or glamorous. They're built on understanding behavior, enjoying the experience, and letting the numbers work in your favor. Have you ever noticed how some opportunities are hiding in plain sight? Now, let me take you to a very different kind of opportunity. One that doesn't require any special equipment, any storefront, and honestly, not even a website. I'm talking about Facebook Marketplace. Most people think of it as a place to sell an old couch or a bicycle you no longer use. But in reality, it has quietly become one of the biggest gold mines for small, everyday businesses in America. I've met folks running fencing companies, garage shelving services, even simple home repair jobs, all earning 6 or 7 figures a year, from nothing more than a few consistent marketplace posts. No paid ads, no complicated funnels, just understanding what people search for when they need help right now. And here's a story that still surprises many of my clients. Chris, the same guy we talked about earlier, once generated $9.8 million in just 3 months simply by listing Bitcoin mining equipment on Facebook Marketplace. No advertising, no fancy branding, just a clear offer, a fair margin, and honest conversations on sales calls. I want you to think about that for a second. How many tools, skills, or connections do you already have that someone out there is actively searching for today? Sometimes the real opportunity isn't in creating demand. It's in showing up where the demand already lives. Let me share another idea that always makes people smile when they hear it, because it's so simple, yet surprisingly powerful. When you visit a tourist town, have you ever noticed those little shops that always have a line out the door? Maybe it's a frozen banana stand, a mini donut stall, or a place selling fresh lemonade. What most people don't realize is, some of these tiny stands make millions of dollars a year. Take Balboa Island in California. There's a small frozen banana shop there, nothing more than a counter and a freezer, that reportedly brings in around $7 million a year just from chocolate-covered bananas. $7 million from bananas, chocolate, and a good location. Now, here's the real insight. These aren't secret recipes. They're not patented. They're simply products that tourists love because the experience feels fun, nostalgic, and easy to share. And this is where the opportunity begins. If one tourist town goes crazy for frozen bananas, what stops another town, maybe yours, from loving the same thing? Many of these ideas can be tested cheaply, with a cart, a tent, or even a weekend pop-up. I'm not saying you should open a banana stand tomorrow, but I do want you to imagine this. How many proven ideas are already out there, just waiting for someone to bring them a little closer to home? There's another kind of opportunity I want you to really pay attention to. The kind that doesn't just earn money, but markets itself every single day. I call these visually viral businesses. They're the ideas people can't help but watch, share, or talk about, simply because they look fascinating. Take SB Mowing, for example. He started by recording simple lawn cleanup transformations in his neighborhood. Nothing more than a tripod, a microphone, and a willingness to help. Today, he's built an audience of over 45 million followers across platforms. Why? Because watching a messy yard turn into something clean and beautiful is strangely satisfying. It's emotional. It's human. Or look at the wine tours in Northern California, where someone converted a shipping container into an open-air party vehicle. It's fun, it's unusual, and it grabs your attention the moment you see it. That unique look helped the business grow into a 7-figure operation in its very first year. And here's the lesson I want you to take away. Some businesses don't need billboards, influencers, or ads. The visual experience becomes their marketing. Ask yourself this: if people saw your product or service for 5 seconds, would it make them stop, smile, or feel curious enough to learn more? Sometimes that little spark is all it takes to create momentum. There's a story I love sharing with my clients, because it shows just how far curiosity and quick action can take you, even when the idea looks almost too simple. If you've ever driven through Texas, you probably know Buc-ee's, the giant rest stop with the friendliest mascot and famously clean bathrooms. People love this place. They love it so much that many wish they could buy Buc-ee's snacks and merchandise online. But for years, the company didn't sell any of it on the internet. And that's where Chris saw an opportunity most people never notice. He walked into a Buc-ee's, spent about $3,000 buying branded snacks and shirts at full retail price, took photos, and quietly launched a small online store called beaversnacks.com. Then something surprising happened. A few local news outlets picked up the story. And within the first 30 days, the site brought in over $200,000 in sales. Not from hype, not from ads, but from genuine demand. Eventually, Buc-ee's legal team reached out. Instead of shutting him down, they allowed him to keep operating as long as he followed certain rules and made it clear he wasn't the official brand. Today, that little experiment has turned into a business growing 20 to 50% every single year. There's one more business I want to share with you. And I'll be honest, it's not glamorous. But sometimes the most meaningful opportunities are the ones people rarely talk about. I'm referring to the pet cremation industry. It may sound unusual at first, but think about this. In the United States today, we actually have more pets than children. For many families, a pet is truly a companion, even a member of the family. When that time comes, people want a service that is respectful, reliable, and handled with care. That growing need has created an industry where demand rises year after year. Because so few businesses operate in space, the margins are incredibly strong, above 90%. High-ticket services. Chris approached it in a thoughtful way. He started by building a simple SEO website that helped connect families to local cremation providers. Then he added a logistics service using refrigerated vans to safely transport pets between clinics and facilities. Nothing rushed, nothing pushy, just a clear service that met a real emotional need. What I want you to see isn't the business itself, but the pattern. When you combine compassion, reliability và một thị trường chưa được phục vụ tốt, đôi khi bạn tạo ra một con đường bền vững hơn cả những ý tưởng hào nhoáng. Have you ever noticed how the opportunities we least expect often become the ones that matter most? Now let me show you an opportunity that proves a powerful truth. Sometimes the best businesses aren't the ones you create from scratch. They're the gaps you help others fill. A while back, Chris wanted to understand the tree service market. So he hired a virtual assistant and made a simple request. Call every tree trimming company in Houston and ask one question. Do you handle stump grinding yourselves, or would you outsource it? After dialing close to 1,000 businesses, the results were eye-opening. About half of them said they would gladly outsource stump grinding if someone reliable offered it. Not because they couldn't do it, but because it was inconvenient, time-consuming, and cut into their profit. And here's the part I really want you to hear. This entire market test cost about $200. No trucks, no machines, no marketing campaign, just conversations. And from those conversations, real demand appeared. Soon, people began launching stump grinding services using his exact blueprint. A simple B2B model where you serve the businesses that already have the customers. And it raises an important question for all of us. How many industries have this same hidden gap? where companies are quietly hoping someone will take one frustrating task off their hands. Often, opportunity shows up the moment you're willing to ask. Let me share a story that always makes people pause for a moment, because it shows what can happen when you combine creativity with simple math. Chris had an old warehouse space behind his home. Nothing special, just an empty building that most people would have rented out for a small check each month. But instead of taking the obvious path, he asked himself a different question. What's the highest and best use of this space? And that's when he discovered something surprising. Pickleball, one of the fastest-growing sports in America, had become so popular that many players couldn't even find an open court to play on. So he turned that dusty warehouse into a private, members-only indoor pickleball court. The entire build-out cost around $20,000. He set the membership at $149 a month, aiming for about 150 to 200 members, a realistic number for his local area. Then he ran a few simple Facebook ads, and the results shocked him. His average cost to acquire a member? Only $12. No staff, no complicated operations, just keycard access, cameras, a cleaning schedule, and lights. With expenses so low, the margins hovered around 80 to 90%. But here's the real lesson, and I want you to let this sink in. Sometimes the biggest opportunity isn't starting something new. It's seeing potential in something that's already right in front of you. Before we talk about building income streams or testing new ideas, I need to share something that's even more important, something I tell every client, especially those in their 30s, 40s, and 50s. Protect your downside before you chase the upside. In other words, never put your financial stability at risk just to try something new. A side hustle should support your life, not shake the foundation underneath it. I've seen too many people get excited, jump in too fast, and use money that was meant for rent, or groceries, or even their kids' education. You never want to be in that position, and you don't have to be. Start small. Test ideas the same way you might test a new recipe. A small batch, low risk, no pressure. If it works, wonderful. If it doesn't, you walk away safely and try something else. That's how responsible wealth building works. And because we're here on YouTube, I want to be very clear. Results always vary from person to person. No video, no creator, including me, can promise income. What we can do is give you perspective, tools, and safer ways to experiment. At this stage in life, your goal isn't reckless growth. It's smart growth. The kind that protects what you've built and opens the door to what's possible. One thing I always remind people, especially those of us in our 30s, 40s, and 50s, is this. A side hustle should never feel like you just added a second job to your life. If you want long-term success, you have to think in systems, not stress. And what I mean by that is simple. The goal isn't to work more hours. It's to build a structure that eventually needs fewer of your hours. I had a client once who tried 3 different side hustles. Each one made a little money, but he was exhausted. Late nights, early mornings, no time for family. And one day he asked me, "Is this really what success is supposed to feel like?" That moment changed everything for him. We sat down, mapped the steps of his business, documented what he repeated every week, and used a few simple tools to automate the boring parts. He hired a part-time helper for tasks that didn't need his expertise. Within 3 months, the same business that drained him was running smoothly with just a few hours of his attention. That's the power of systems. They protect your energy. They protect your time. And they allow your side hustle to grow without burning you out. Because as we get older, our most valuable resource isn't money. It's the freedom to live our lives without feeling overwhelmed. When you really step back and look at it, every idea we explored today points to one simple truth. Opportunity isn't reserved for the lucky or the young. It's reserved for the curious, the consistent, and the people willing to start small and grow wisely. You don't need 10 businesses, and you don't need to chase every trend. What you do need is the courage to test, the discipline to protect your finances, and the wisdom to turn your efforts into systems that support your life, not overwhelm it. If today's video sparked even one new thought or helped you see your potential a little differently, I'm truly grateful you spent this time with me. And if you'd like more honest, practical conversations like this, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe. We'll keep learning, building, and moving forward, one thoughtful step at a time.